Cliff has been a very brittle diabetic for about 43 years now, and 2.5 years ago he ended up on dialysis. When he first went to dialysis, they took 40 pounds off him in 2 months. He probably left it a little bit too long actually, but during that time we noticed his first pair of shoes got way too big, so we got rid of them and bought him new shoes. But then we didn't notice the second pair got too big until one day Cliff was sitting on his stool, and he noticed that there was fluid draining out of his feet. So he called me to have a look at it, and I went and looked, and the backs of his heels were completely white. And I really didn't know what to think, but I thought they were just blisters. So we watched them for a few days and took care of the drainage. And then I finally realized it was beyond me. So I called the public health nurse in. And the public health nurse came and she said, "This is almost beyond me as well." It was pretty scary. We didn't know what was going to be underneath all this white tissue. So just kept looking after it, bandaging it, and it was done about 3 times a week, I guess. And gradually all of the white tissue came off, and there were these huge big holes. He had big ulcers.
I was on the receiving end, and something that just terrified me beyond belief and gave me so much more incentive. I can't describe how much. As the first time I went to the foot and ulcer clinic at the hospital, the doctor came in, took a good look at it, and said, "Well, we may have to amputate," and turned around and walked out of the room, and I just said, "I'm going to heal this," or "We're going to heal this."
So went into the diabetic store one day, and the lady there gave me a sheet for the Soul Comfort shop in Duncan. And yes, one day I was looking at his foot, and it was one of those days when it's one step forward, one step back, and the ulcer had started again. So I thought, and yes, it had spoken to me about it had been used in wounds and given me some information, a few sheets of stuff, and a place to look on the internet. So I looked it all up and found out that wool is antimicrobial. And that was more or less what sold me on it, it would not cause infection. So I read about it and how it was used, and I thought, okay, I'm going to give it a try. So one day I just had it, and I just wadded up a big piece of wool, and I put it right on the wound, and I wrapped it all up, and I left it for, I guess, a couple of days. And I went back and looked at it, and I thought, oh my God, what have I done? Because it was all stuck to it. I wasn't expecting that. I don't know what I expected. I didn't expect that. So being a nurse, I soaked it all off to have a look at it, and the wound looked very good. The redness had faded. The part that I thought he was going to lose was actually going back to a natural color, and the wound itself was sort of drying up in a good way. Okay, these are Cliff's feet. At one time, Cliff had bandages on pretty much on every toe and the ends of his toes, between his toes, and the wool has just cleared that all up. There's not an issue anymore. The bottom of this foot was still an open ulcer when I started using wool, and it cleared up very, very quickly, and that's all that's left of it. This foot, it's just in the last, I guess not even a week, that the wool has finally come off, and it's obviously just healing. It's just a scab now. It's really too bad that we couldn't have shown it with the wool hanging onto it, because it really did a good job. I truly cannot imagine why anybody with an ulcer would not use wool.
And here we are now, it's almost healed. And I would have to say that Barb's been trying, and the nurses have been trying very hard for almost 2.5 years, and it's never been as good as it is now. And that is thanks to the wool. As far as I'm concerned, without the wool, I'd still be suffering.